Class, class, class. Alrighty, we're moving on to example 3, subtracting linear expressions. Now, same thing applies to this. Whenever you subtract, we're just going to add the opposite. Okay, so let's jump right in. A is going to ask us to find each difference. So the first one is 5x plus 6 minus negative x plus 6. Okay, and so class, right now I'm actually going to show you this. I want you to imagine an invisible 1 right here. A negative 1 is being multiplied throughout that negative x plus 6. It's like distributive property. And you know how to do distributive property. You're going to multiply that negative 1 times the x and times the 6. Okay, so whenever you see a negative sign in front of the parentheses, I want you to imagine a negative 1, and you're going to distribute that for me. So let's bring down what we're not going to touch. We have the 5x plus 6. Okay, what's negative 1 times negative x? That would be a positive x. And what's negative 1 times a positive 6? Remember your multiplication rules. A positive times a negative is a negative, so it would be a negative 6. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to explain it to you another way. Okay, so what you could do here is, let's see. What you could do here is you can just go through and change the signs. So you can, let me get my red marker, you can add the opposites. Okay, so whichever is easiest for you, notice that you still have that x minus 6 in there. So whatever you do, it doesn't matter, whichever one you choose to do, as long as you do it correctly. You can distribute that negative 1 all throughout, if that makes more sense, or you can just add the opposite. But you should end up with the same expression, 5x plus 6 plus x minus 6. Now, for this one, we're going to do the vertical method. And remember, the vertical method is as such. Write it out, please. Vertical method for subtraction says to, same thing, align like terms vertically, but now this time subtract. Align like terms vertically, hence the vertical method, and subtract. Okay, so let's go ahead and line up our like terms. Our like terms here are 5x and x. So we would do 5x and x, and then we have a positive 6 and a negative 6. Please see these as individual terms. You have a 5x, a positive 6, a positive 6, an x, and a negative 6. Okay? Let's go ahead and solve that then. Let me change it to gray. Okay, we're going to subtract. Actually, we're not going to subtract because we had already changed it into addition. Remember, we changed it up here. We added the opposite. So, what is 5x plus x? 6x. What is a positive 6 plus a negative 6? They cancel each other out. It's a zero pair. So, it's 0. So your final answer is 6x. Does that make sense? Awesome job. Okay, now I want to teach you the horizontal method. Let's go ahead and do this horizontal method. Okay, so for b, we are going to do 7y plus 5 minus 2 times 4y minus 3. Whoa, 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 look at that. Distributive property. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this horizontally. Let me write down my horizontal method rule. Horizontal method. Whoa there. I was writing too fast. Horizontal method says to use properties of operations to group like terms and simplify. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. First things first. What am I going to do? It starts with a D and rhymes with distributive property. It's distributive property. Okay, so I am going to distribute, let me change my marker so you don't get confused, this negative 2 times the 4y and times the negative 3y. Okay, so when I do that, my new answer, my new expression would be 7y plus 5. I'm going to keep that first parentheses because I'm not going to touch it yet. Negative 2 times 4y is negative 8y plus 6. It's a plus 6 because we have that negative 2 times negative 3. Does that make sense? Okay. So now that I did that, I'm going to make note of that I did distributive property, distributive prop. Okay. Now my next thing is I'm going to use commutative property that tells me that I can move things around however I like. So I would like to move my y's together, 7y minus 8y plus 5 plus 6. Okay, so now I'm going to use my associative property, which tells me I can make whoever I want a group of friends, or I can group them however I want. So I'm going to group those y's together, and I'm going to group those whole numbers together. And what is 7y minus 8? That's popcorn. Okay, so now that they're different signs, we're going to find the difference and keep the sign of the larger. That would be negative 1y. And then the 5 plus 6, easy peasy, would be 11. But the way that I would write that simplified is just a negative y. I do not need to keep that negative 1 coefficient. I can just write negative y plus 11. And that is my answer. Let's go ahead and see if you can do some on your own. Okay, go ahead and do A. We have m minus 3 minus negative m plus 12. Please write it correctly, because if you don't copy this down correctly, then you're automatically going to get the wrong answer. Okay, go ahead and try it. Way to go, I like all the hard work. Now, the final answer. Please hold up your whiteboards and compare your answers. Your answer should be 2m minus 15. Did you get it? Awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and do B. I challenge you. B. Negative 2 times C plus 2.5. Let me make that decimal a little larger. 2.5 minus 5. Ooh, we have two distributive properties going on. 1.2 C plus 4. Negative 2 times C plus 2.5 minus 5, 1.2 C plus 4. Okay, go ahead and try that for me. Alrighty, class. Hold up your whiteboards. The final answer is negative 8C minus 25. Who got it? Okay, good job. So that concludes example 3.